The sliding door was ajar, a silent invitation to a world that had been left untouched for years. A peek inside revealed a home frozen in time, untouched by the outside world. The furniture, the decor, everything remained as it was, a snapshot of a life abruptly halted. It was December 31st, 2000, the eve of a new millennium, and inside the house in Setagaya, Tokyo, something was terribly wrong. The streets outside were quiet, the neighborhood unaware of the tragedy that had unfolded within. The air hung heavy, thick with an unsettling silence. It was the kind of silence that seemed to press down on you, making it hard to breathe, hard to think. This was not the quiet of a family sleeping. This was the quiet of something else entirely. It was the quiet of a home that had witnessed something unspeakable, something that had left an indelible mark on its very walls. The Miyazawa family, Mikio, Yasuko, Nina and Rei, were found lifeless in their home. Their family photo, once a symbol of happiness and togetherness, now stood as a haunting reminder of what had been lost. Their positions, their expressions, everything spoke of a sudden and brutal end. The forensic team moved methodically, piecing together the final moments of the Miyazawa family. Mikio, the father, lay sprawled on the first-floor landing. His body bore the marks of a fierce struggle, a testament to his desperate fight to protect his family. His injuries told a story of a fierce struggle. Bruises, cuts and defensive wounds painted a picture of a man who had fought valiantly against an unseen assailant. Upstairs, Yasuko, the mother, had been the victim of a frenzied attack. The bedroom, once a place of rest and comfort, was now a scene of chaos and violence. In another room, 8-year-old Nina was tucked into bed, a heartbreaking detail that amplified the horror of the scene. Her small form, so peaceful in death, contrasted sharply with the brutality that had taken her life. Her 6-year-old brother, Rei, was found in another room, his small body bearing the brunt of the killer's rage. The innocence of childhood shattered in an instant. The family dog, too, had been silenced, a chilling testament to the killer's ruthlessness. Even the loyal pet had not been spared in this night of terror. It was a scene that would forever be etched into the minds of the investigators, a macabre tableau that whispered tales of unspeakable violence. The police worked tirelessly, sifting through evidence, trying to make sense of the senseless. The house itself seemed to hold its breath, the walls whispering secrets of the horrors that unfolded within. Every creak, every shadow seemed to tell a story of the night that changed everything. The Setagaya family murders sent shockwaves through Japan, news broadcasts relayed the grim details, and the community, once tight-knit and trusting, was now gripped by fear and suspicion. This quiet, affluent suburb of Tokyo, a place where people felt safe, was now the epicenter of a mystery that would grip the nation for years to come. Neighbors looked at each other with new eyes, wondering who could be capable of such horror, who would commit such a heinous act, and why. The questions lingered, unanswered, as the investigation continued. The shadow of the killer loomed large, a dark figure that haunted the dreams of those left behind. Investigators worked late into the night, sifting through every piece of evidence, every clue, hoping to find something that would lead them to the perpetrator. The weight of the case bore heavily on their shoulders. The community came together to mourn the loss of the Miyazawa family. Candles and flowers were placed outside their home, a small gesture of solidarity and remembrance in the face of such overwhelming tragedy. The family photo, now surrounded by flickering candles, served as a poignant reminder of the lives that had been so cruelly taken. Tears flowed freely as friends and neighbors paid their respects. At a press conference, police officers vowed to bring the killer to justice. Their faces were set with determination, a promise to the Miyazawa family and the community that they would not rest until the case was solved. As night fell, the house in Setagaya stood silent, bathed in the cold light of the moon. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can lurk just beneath the surface of everyday existence. Time seemed to stand still, frozen at the moment of the crime. The clock on the wall, its hands unmoving, symbolized the abrupt end to the Miyazawa family's story. As investigators left the scene, their expressions were somber. They carried with them the weight of the unsolved mystery, a burden that would stay with them long after they had left the house behind. The house, once a home filled with laughter and love, now stood as a silent witness to a night of unimaginable horror. Its story, etched in the memories of all who entered, would never be forgotten. The last known contact with the Miyazawa family was on December 30th, 2000. It was a day like any other, filled with the usual routines and activities that marked their lives. It was a seemingly ordinary day. Mikio worked from home, diligently attending to his tasks, unaware of the impending tragedy that would soon befall his family. Yasuko took Nina to a nearby piano lesson, a weekly ritual that brought joy and a sense of normalcy to their lives. The bond between mother and daughter was evident in their shared moments. And Ray spent the afternoon playing with friends, his laughter echoing through the neighborhood. It was a carefree time, filled with the innocence of childhood. Later that evening, around 10 p.m., Yasuko's mother received an email from her daughter. It was a brief message, but it carried the warmth and love that defined their relationship. That was the last anyone heard from the Miyazawas. The silence that followed was deafening, a stark contrast to the vibrant life that once filled their home. The family was discovered the next day, on December 31st, by Yasuko's mother, who became concerned after not being able to reach her daughter. Her worry turned to horror as she entered the house and found the unimaginable. The discovery sent shockwaves through the neighborhood and beyond. Neighbors gathered, their faces etched with disbelief and sorrow, struggling to comprehend the tragedy that had struck so close to home. It was New Year's Eve, a time for celebration, a time for hope. Fireworks lit up the sky, but the festive atmosphere was overshadowed by the grim reality that had unfolded. Instead, the people of Japan were confronted with the stark reality of evil lurking in their midst. The sense of security that once enveloped their community was shattered. The investigation revealed that the killer had entered the house through a second-floor bathroom window, likely using a ladder to gain access. This calculated move indicated a premeditated plan, adding to the chilling nature of the crime. The killer then spent hours inside the house after the murders. He moved through the rooms with a disturbing sense of ease, as if he belonged there. He ate food from their refrigerator, used their computer, leaving behind traces of his presence. These actions were not just about survival. They were a deliberate intrusion into the family's private world. He even took a nap on their sofa. The audacity of this act was staggering, a brazen display of contempt for the lives he had taken. The details were as baffling as they were chilling, painting a picture of a killer who was both meticulous and strangely nonchalant. Each piece of evidence added to the enigma, creating a puzzle that seemed impossible to solve. The killer's movements throughout the house, his prolonged stay, and his seemingly random actions only deepened the mystery. It was as if he was playing a game, one that only he understood. It was as if he wanted to leave his mark, to taunt the authorities, to make sure they knew he was there. But why? What drove him to commit such a heinous act and then linger in the aftermath? What was the purpose behind this eerie display? The questions lingered, haunting the investigators and the community alike, as they grappled with the horror and sought answers in the darkness. The crime scene, though seemingly chaotic, yielded a treasure trove of forensic evidence. Every corner of the room seemed to tell a story, each piece of evidence a clue waiting to be deciphered. The killer left behind fingerprints, DNA, and even personal belongings. These traces were like breadcrumbs, leading the investigators closer to the truth. This, the investigators thought, would be their ticket to cracking the case wide open. They meticulously catalogued each item, knowing that even the smallest detail could be the key to solving the mystery. It was only a matter of time before they would have their man. The evidence was overwhelming, and the team felt a sense of determination and urgency. The killer's DNA was found on a teacup, on a piece of discarded clothing, and even on a bloody knife left at the scene. Each item told a part of the story, painting a picture of the events that had transpired. Fingerprints were lifted from various surfaces, including the bathroom window frame and a door handle. These prints were like silent witnesses, each one adding to the growing body of evidence. The killer had also left behind several personal items, including a hat, a handkerchief, and a bag containing sand later traced back to the Mojave Desert in California. This unusual find added a new layer of intrigue to the case. The evidence was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it provided concrete links to the killer, offering a glimmer of hope in what seemed like an impenetrable darkness. The team felt they were on the brink of a breakthrough. On the other hand, the abundance of evidence and its often contradictory nature only served to deepen the mystery. Each new piece of evidence seemed to raise more questions than it answered. Who was this individual who left behind so much of himself, yet remained utterly unknown? The detectives were determined to uncover the truth, no matter how elusive it seemed. The case was like a complex puzzle, with each piece slowly falling into place. Among the more peculiar pieces of evidence was a half-eaten melon found at the scene. This seemingly trivial item could hold the key to understanding the killer's state of mind or even his identity. The forensic team analyzed the melon for any traces of DNA or other clues. It was a strange but potentially significant find, adding yet another layer to the already complex investigation. As the days turned into nights, the detectives worked tirelessly, piecing together the puzzle. Each new discovery brought them one step closer to the truth, but also revealed just how much they still didn't know. Despite the challenges, the team remained hopeful. They knew that with persistence and careful analysis, they would eventually uncover the identity of the killer and bring justice to the victims. The discovery of the sand from the Mojave Desert in California added another layer of complexity to the already perplexing case. The sand was found in a bag among the killer's belongings, a seemingly insignificant detail that quickly became a focal point of the investigation. How did sand from a desert halfway across the world end up at a crime scene in a quiet Tokyo suburb? The sand sparked a flurry of speculation. Was the killer American? Had they been to California recently? Or was the sand a red herring, a deliberate attempt to mislead investigators? The sand, like so many other aspects of the case, raised more questions than answers. It was a tangible link to another place, another time, another life, fueling a maelstrom of theories and conjectures. The sand became a symbol of the global reach of the case, a stark reminder that the answers to this baffling crime could lie anywhere in the world. It was a chilling thought that the killer could be anyone from anywhere lurking in the shadows just out of reach.